Hello and welcome to Knitting on the Float. My name is Tracy and I'm your host. I am coming to you from a gorgeous sunny day in the Vancouver area. It is a Sunday afternoon, the sun is out, the water is glistening from all of those sunshiny rays, and it is definitely a beautiful one on the West Coast. I hope that wherever you are enjoying your first few days of October. I'm not sure how that's happened, but we are already into the 10th month of the year. And in addition to enjoying October, that you are getting in all of your pumpkin spice lattes and all of those lovely pumpkin-y things that are available at this time of year. We have just a few things to talk about today, but the things that I am sharing are quite lovely, so I'm excited to chatter away about what I can't show you as much as I can and share a finished object with you, as well as we're going to go into the vaults and pull out an object that has been finished for quite some time and that very well may have a very special destination coming up. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's what we'll see on today's podcast, although I do think it will be a little bit of a shorter one. If you would like to find me, I am Tracy RR on Ravelry, and I am at Knitting on the Float on Instagram. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. This is a podcast where I primarily talk about knitting. I do have a couple of cross-stitch projects on the back burner, but they are definitely on that way rear back burner for now. Today, it is all about the knitting, so welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I am so happy that you have carved out some time today to sit down with me and chatter away about what is on the couch and also in front of me on the ottoman, because the knitting table is now still upstairs. So glad to have you with me. I know you have your cup of whatever it is you're drinking. You've got your project of choice. You are ready to sit down on this off-kilter schedule that we are now on and just take some time for yourself while I chatter away about the projects I've been up to in the past little while. So, welcome back. Let's get on to some tea time. And today I am drinking something very special. I hope it's still hot, because when I got back, I needed to clean the kitchen because it was a bit of a disaster. Today I am drinking one of my favorite teas, Tim Hortons steeped tea. And look at that, I haven't even opened it yet because of course I wanted to have our proper cheer together, and that usually means not having anything to drink. So this is a real shot of caffeine for me, and this will be my only caffeinated beverage of the day because I do want to sleep tonight. Okay, so let us open up this takeout container. I know, plastic lids, not good for the environment. It's October. I can't believe it. Let us cheer to a wonderful October. And we are soon going into knit vent season, so that's always an exciting time. So to October and exciting things ahead. Cheers to that. Now I just need to make sure I turn this the right way so I don't end up spilling all over myself, because it would be a shame to spill on this. I'll talk about that in a second, but cheers to October and wonderful things ahead. I do love my steeped tea. Today, I just mentioned, I am wearing my Morticia, which is a pattern by Andy Satterland, and I wore this out today, and it's wonderful because October, you never know what you're going to get. It is currently, at this moment, not sweater weather, but because it's got these wonderful mesh sleeves, I've got some airflow happening, and that's always a good thing. Love, love, love this pattern, and the sleeves are just dreamy, and I just kept marveling at how perfectly they sort of balloon over the wrist, and I'm not having to roll back. Love, love, love. This week I worked on 3 projects and I pulled one out from, it's been sitting on the back burner for a little bit. So I have pulled out my lovely Bits and Bobs blanket. This is a pattern by KF Jones, who is one of the bakery bears, and it is living in my gorgeous bird leg bags Christmas bag. And this bag is amazing. All of these swirls are actually like a gold foil, and every single one of these little speckles here is also gold. It is such a magical fabric made into this wonderful, wonderful bag. And as I mentioned, this is one of my Bits and Bobs blankets. I was working on these a lot in the summertime. It was a very wonderful comfort knit, but it got put away, I think, when I went to Toronto, and it has not had very much love since, but it is so beautiful. Today, while we were in the car, I was really admiring this little section here. It's this blue and it's got purple bits. It's just absolutely magical. Now, what I'm doing for this is I am holding 2 yarns double. I'm holding a Hedgerow Yarns double with, I think it's from my 2019 Nora George Advent kit. And somewhere in here is the little mini. So there's the mini that I am currently holding double, along with this skein of yarn. Can I remember which colorway this is right now? Not off the top of my head. Do I happen to have the ball band in here? Probably not. I need to be a little bit more organized, I suppose. Juggling so much these days. These are the other sparkly yarns that I will be using throughout this project to hold the rest of the 2019 Advent kit with. And they are lovely, they are sparkly, fun shots of color. I believe the next one that goes in is this one, and this one is called Sleigh Bells on Silver Sparkle, so Stellina. This one here is called Sweet Pea, a little bit more of a purple and blue and green bit in there on a, well, it is white, it's got more of a purple undertone to it. And then we end off with the colorway that we started with, and that is Little Princess. And this one has gold stellina in it. So the first one I used was this with gold stellina. It's not Holly Jolly, but it is a Christmas colorway. Christmas wreath? I'll have to look it up. Anyway, whichever colorway I'm using, it looks beautiful, held double with the Nora George yarns. And it is slowly coming along. As I said, I just picked it up again today, and it's such a wonderful pattern, so intuitive. It's easy enough to pick up and say, okay, where was I? What row am I on? Or not so much row, which side am I on, right side or wrong side? And I am able to tell which side is my right side and my wrong side because I have this lovely Corner of Craft Darth Vader stitch marker on here. So this is my right side, this is my wrong side. But the wonderful thing about the Bits and Bobs blanket is it does not matter which side you're using it because both sides look like the right side. Anyway, that was wonderful to pull out of abeyance there for a little while and get some work done on it today. And I believe I'm on colorway 8 right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I might be on 9 actually. I'd have to go through and really count. And 24 minis. It'll be a nice size blanket once it is all complete. And oh, I am loving how it's knitting up, especially with that little bit of sparkle held in there. So that was something I was really happy to work on today. And that may be starting to become one of the projects I take to school with me and work on. It is a little bit bigger, and as it gets even more bigger, it's a little harder to do, but for the next little while it might be a good project to take on the go with me because it's easy to pick up, put down. As long as I can finish a row off, I'm okay, and they are long rows, so we will see. The next project I am going to chatter about, it's an exciting one. It's a test knit, so I can't tell you too much about it, but it is living in this gorgeous Bags by Awesome Granny Haunted House bag. And the moon with the bat there, the fluff on this side. Oh, love, love, love this bag. So fun. Definitely very, very suitable for October. And this is going to be the Scrappy project for KnitVent 2023. It'll be the first release. And Helen has put spoilers out about each of the yarns. So if you don't want to know what I am knitting with, well, I guess we should. I haven't done a spoiler alert in ages, so spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you don't want to know my yarns, even though I shared them last week, cover your eyes, cover your ears, run screaming out of the room, not into the river, but do what you need to do if you don't want to see the yarns for KnitVent, but I know you want to stay because I would. So I am holding this project double with mohair. I'm using Hedgerow yarns in the colorway Naked, so just an undyed mohair silk, lovely little fluffy lace. And I am using different Nora George yarns packages of her great characters of literature, and she has some movies in there. She had some novels, some musicals, different literature, artistic-y bits. And this one here is the last colorway in the first set I'm using. So this is my 5th mini in so far, and this is from The Sound of Music. This is brown paper packages. We will not have any other brown paper packages on the podcast this week, so you will just have to really love this mini here because it will be our only brown paper packages today. So that is knitting in nicely, and I am loving this project. However, I keep making really silly mistakes. It's an easy pattern to follow, but my brain has been a little bit distracted, shall we say, the past couple of days. So I think I spent yesterday more time thinking back than actually knitting, although I am in the 5th colorway, which is good. I am using, as I mentioned, different mini packs from Tracy of Nora George Yarns. So I just shared brown paper packages with you. This is Raindrops on Roses, and I want you to notice these were 20-gram minis. I want you to notice how little of each is left, which is wonderful because if you're using either an Advent set for this project that you've purchased this year, or perhaps you have an Advent set from previous years. I will admit I have had a few of those, and you're using that, or maybe you're just doing what I'm doing, pulling some mini sets together that you like the look of, or maybe you're using leftovers that you have lovely leftovers. You are going to need about 20 grams for each of the colorways. So this is Raindrops and Roses. And this one here, look how small, look how small. Whiskers on Kittens. Bright Copper Kettles, which needs to be rewound up a little bit more. It's so small, it's hard to, when you're trying to get those little bits wound around. So Bright Copper Kettles, just a tiny little bit left. And warm woolen mittens. And as you saw, brown paper packages is in there. But for a mini set, that is all I have left. Good use of yarn. So that is the first set in. Now I am going to, or last week when I talked about this project, I said I was going to use the Murder on the Orient Express kit. I think I'll hold it this way. I think it's this way to this way. I am so left-right challenged. As Scout drinks her water. Oh, look at that beautiful color. Oh, I believe we're going this way to this way in Murder on the Orient Express. And then the next set that was going to go in was going to be the Wizard of Oz, and I was going to start here. Tin Man was not going to make it into this pattern, and then we were continuing along to over here, and that one was called Toto, the brown one. And then I believe I was going to go into, this one is the Chronicles of Narnia, and I was going to start off with Mr. Tumnus and go across to Aslan. And then the plan was to end off with Greece, starting here and ending with this color that reminds me so much of candy canes. It also has that wonderful red in it, which will hopefully look amazing opposite my cast on red, just to have at the other end. However, I did mention last week, this pattern is super flexible. So if you want to use 18 minis, you can use 18 minis. If you want to use 32 minis, you could do that. If you want to use 24, of course, absolutely, that's how it's designed. But it does have that flexibility. So I am toying with the idea of maybe making this one here not quite as big and using less minis, but I am already thinking about casting on a second one, and I know exactly what I'm going to use for that, and I'm going to have 26 minis for that. So I could do a small version and then a large version in December and into January. So I am thinking that I might cut out the Wizard of Oz completely, because we all know, if you've tuned in before, how much I love yellow. So that may not make it in. I'm thinking of maybe either only using 15 or 20 minis, depending on my time factor. I am wanting to meet the release deadline so that when the pattern is released, mine is ready, all blocked. And with school, I'm not sure that I'm quite going to make that. So I may just make it just a little bit more manageable for me. So, and in the process, I'm still able to really fully test this pattern. And you'll see it's so simple. It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And I saw all the shots, all the photographs from the whole collection this year. I'm just hoping I'll be able to stay on top of all the test knits this year, because with school, all the memorization that I've got to do and homework, I've got a couple of assignments that I've got to work on after I edit the podcast. I want to do it all, and I can't always. Anyway, I may do either 15 or 20 for this version, and as I said, I plan on casting on a second one of these, and I know exactly what I'm going to use, and I will share that with you in the weeks ahead. Maybe when the pattern is released, I'll have it all together and I can share that with you. So that was the second project. The last project I'm going to share with you is living in my lovely For Things or Stuff, or Pieces and Pairs, Bits and Bobs, Odds and Sods, This and That, or simply some pairs of socks. And in here, there was simply a pair of socks, and this was given to me by my lovely friend Terry, and it has been a great project bag to carry around with me. And I'm going to tell you that I'm actually going to take this one out of the knitting drawer, because I'm going to put it into my permanent carrying rotation. This is going to be for putting in things to take to my dance classes, because even though it won't be knitting odds and sods, it'll be great to, throw in, like if I got to bring my ballet shoes and a pair of tights, I can just throw them in here, and this will be a carry along with me, and it will have these lovely knitting memories attached, but will be a practical bag to throw in my backpack. Okay, for this project, this is the Studiolo socks. This is the final release from the Handmade Sock Society Season 5. And for that, I used some gorgeous wool barn yarn, BFL 4-ply in the colorway Duck Egg. And we pulled this skein out back in May when we were doing the loft cleanup, or maybe my Studiolo cleanup. I should have maybe called it that. And I considered using this for pattern 2, but Helen actually used this colorway on a different base for pattern 4, which was the paper wings socks. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to use this colorway on the final pattern because I thought it would go very, very nicely. And I'm going to share them with you in a moment. I think it really does. Anyway, this gorgeous, gorgeous duck egg. So nice to be able to use some yarn that's been in my stash for quite some time. And we have the Studiolo socks right here. 2 of them. I finished both. I may have finished it the night before it was released. Well, I finished it 2 nights before it was released. Soaked, blocked, took photographs the night before it was released. These are the Studiolo socks. It has this lovely lace detail, and I love this sort of scallopy edge at the top. It's got a little bit of a wavy edge, and then it goes into this gorgeous lace design here, a little pearl bump, and then we just go into nice, easy stockinette knitting down the rest of the leg into a slip stitch heel flap. We then have, I think this one is a half kerchief heel. I know, I have to look up my heels again. And then of course a lovely gusset, which makes the instep feel so wonderful. Plain stockinette down the foot, and then we have a wedge toe happening here, which doesn't want to lay flat on me at the moment. So a lovely pair of socks, really simple. I've seen some friends who have started knitting these, and they're choosing absolutely beautiful colors, and they're knitting through them so quickly. And this was a fairly quick knit when I was focusing on it, among all the other things that I've got to focus on. Anyway, that is the final project that I'm going to chatter away that I worked on this week about. But they are beautiful, and they look wonderful in the duck egg, because who doesn't love a lovely pair of aqua, turquoise, whatever greeny blue you want to call this. They are just absolutely spectacular. And with the BFL, they're really a nice, hardy, H-A-R-D-Y, hardy sock yarn to have. They should wear very, very well. But love, love, love the pattern. And that is the end of the Handmade Sock Society Season 5. I hope if you knit along that you loved all of the patterns. I'm just glad I got them all done. But Knit Vent. Now Knit Vent begins. It is on for pre-sales right now, and Knit Vent is one of my favorite times of the year. If we're having to go into winter, it definitely softens that. I have one more thing to share on my favorite things. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a lovely, for me it was knitting morning, and for the others it was knitting evening Zoom. And we had a wonderful chat on Zoom, and we were talking about that it would be fun to share some of the things that are in my cedar chest. And I'll tell you about a few of the things that are in my cedar chest. I do have a couple of baby outfits for both Nathaniel and Isaac in there. I have some lovely heirloom blankets. I then have my shawls and a few garments that I wear. And then I have over to the side some shawls and other beautiful things I've knit that I haven't decided what is going to happen to them yet. So they've been soaked, blocked, shared with you, and then they've been put in a safe place for at some point being gifted or donated or whatever happens to some of those lovely knits when I finally figure out, oh, this belongs to someone, or it sometimes happens. I'll know exactly, oh, I know exactly this belongs to this person. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think some of you will. So I went rummaging through the cedar chest the other day. I had a lovely chat with somebody, and I think we have a destination for what I've popped into this bag. And this is my lovely Miss May shawl. Now, I did 2 Miss May shawls. I did the test knit, and I did that in lovely viola, and that one was gifted to my beautiful cousin, and it was made with viola yarns. So pretty. So that was the one I did before the clues even started to be released, to make sure that the pattern was on point, perfect for everybody who decided to knit along with the Miss May Mystery Knit Along. And then I did a second one because it's such a beautiful pattern. And while I didn't quite knit along with everybody, I pretty much close to. What I did was I did each section the week before, and then when it was released, I could then say, and here's the next clue. And so that's about as close to keeping up with a knit along as I usually get, where I was able to share as we went. Usually I'm much farther ahead. I've done it, I've completed it, I've moved on to the next thing. So it was a lot of fun to knit this a week in advance rather than sometimes a month in advance or whatever that looks like. So this is my gorgeous Miss May shawl, number 2. And this was knit with the colors from the Find Your Fade kit. And I knit a Find Your Fade kit, and then I used my leftover yarns to make this beautiful, beautiful Miss May shawl. So pretty. It really is. And so this, I believe, will have a very, very special destination in the next, maybe the next week. I'm not 100% sure. And if it ends up doing that, I will post on Instagram and tell you about it. And it's quite possible, if you are on Instagram, you might see this again too. We shall see. We are just in the early discussions of which pattern. And there are 2 other patterns that are in my cedar chest that I haven't gifted yet. One of them is the Edinburgh Lane shawl, also knit with 3 of these colorways. I think the Rose Hip, the Harvest, and then, okay, I can't remember what this one was renamed. The old name was Sorry. I'll have to figure out what the new name is. All hedgehog fibers. And then the other one, and I'll pop a photograph of my Edinburgh Lanes. It's a very, very large shawl. It's beautiful. And again, it's also one of the ones in my cedar chest that at this point, I'm not sure who it belongs to, but I don't think it's me. Anyway, there's that one, there's this one, and then there is the last pattern from last year's knit vent. And it was the forage shawl. That's what it was called. I couldn't remember what it was called. And I knit the forage shawl out of the pink colorways that were featured in Helen's sample of her anthology shawl. So last year, Helen sent me a little bag of minis, and they were all the colorways she had used in her anthology shawl. And I separated them into warms and cools. So some of them were pinks, purples, and the other ones were blues and greens. And I took all the pinks and the purples, and I knit my forage shawl out of that. It's a little bit smaller. So you will see likely the Miss May, the Edinburgh Lanes, or the forage shawl doing something very special in the next little while. Anyway, that was pulled out of the cedar chest, And it was really nice to talk about something that's in there. I've got some other lovely, lovely things in there. I still have another mystery knit along in there, and brain is completely leaving me right now, but that's okay. It can be a surprise for another day. I've got some beauties in there, so I think maybe one day we will revisit that, but I'm not sure when that will be. Anyway, that is what I have to share on my favorite things this week. I did mention that the only brown paper packages we were going to get was that little mini that is currently in here being worked. So we will go straight to Bits and Bobs. It's now time for Bits and Bobs, and this is my segment where I talk about anything and everything not necessarily knitting related. I made it to Thanksgiving in my musical theater program, and I have to tell you, there are days that I wonder, what am I doing? Dancing is such a challenge. I've also started taking some evening dance classes to help support me. I'm doing Pilates at the university to help support the physical fitness involved for the dancing. It is definitely a full-on thing, which means that a lot less knitting is happening, and as you have noticed, podcasting is a little bit more sporadic. And I'm not sure when I'm going to podcast next. I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break and try and get as much as I can done on the Knit Vent projects. And I also have a ton of homework, a ton of memorizing to do. So that's where my focus is right now. But I am really looking forward to sort of figuring out how we move forward with the podcast, because I absolutely love sitting down with you and sharing the beautiful things I've been working on. So I definitely do not want to just say, oh, can't do this anymore, because that's not how I feel. I really want to still do this, but I need to figure out how it fits in my life as it is. I have no idea how, when I was in Toronto, I was able to work full time, do so much knitting, podcast weekly. I don't have that energy anymore, I suppose. Or there's just, the school has a lot more demands on me. Somebody wants outside. I'm going to pop up and put her out, and then I will come back and chatter some more, because I have some things to share. Last week, I mentioned that there was a bear somewhere on campus, and I still haven't seen it. Definitely not going looking for it, but I do have a couple of clips, and one of them I chatter a little bit at the university about the bear, so I'll put that in here in a second. And the other night I came home, and as I came down the ramp, our lovely friend the beaver was chomping away, so I've got some video of him as well. So I will put those two clips right here. I've brought you to the university, and here we are. Beware, bear in area. If you see it, don't approach it. And up here, it says, warning, unsafe trail, use at your own risk, because I have a feeling this is the trail the bear takes. And no, we are not going to go exploring today. I'm going to go down to the athletic center and walk on the treadmill, where there are no bears. I just got home from school, and as I was walking down the ramp, I saw this guy chomping away on some leaves. So of course I knew I had to go grab the camera. Today is Thursday, October 5th, and I had to grab the camera. He's got some sound effects happening there as well, as he's chewing the leaves. And I don't have the microphone on this, so I'm not sure if the quality is going to be as good, or if there's going to be wind noises. But yeah, we needed to see the fun beaver on this beautiful sunny Thursday afternoon in the Vancouver area. When we first moved here, I never would have thought that I would have been able to walk outside my door and see a real live beaver. He doesn't seem at all bothered that I'm here right now, which is nice because then that allows me to share just a little bit of life off of the float house after a very, very busy day. Scout is so funny during podcast time. She wants in, she wants out. Drives me a little bit mad, actually. Now she's coming for pets. So here she is, getting her ears scratched. So if you're on the couch, just reach down, give her a scratch behind the ears for me too. So Isaac is absolutely loving his program. I do have to say, where I thought I was busy, he is even busier than I am. He sometimes comes home 11 o'clock, midnight. They've been working on the set. Their first show was The Tempest, and he was working on set for that. He ended up cutting his finger, having to get stitches. So it's been a very eventful first few weeks of school for him. I'm sure you can hear Scout breathing away down here. And Nathaniel is loving high school, and I'm happy to say that ukulele has started back up. He's zooming in. So there is one person zooming in from here, and there's a person zooming in from the East Coast, and then the rest of the class is meeting in the classroom. So it's nice that they are able to zoom them in, and I'm hoping, crossing fingers, they're going to do something spectacular like they did last year, where last year they went into the recording studio with Molly Johnson and got to play and sing Ooh Child with her. So I'm hoping that they have, and I'm sure they will have, another wonderful, wonderful experience with that. Melanie Doan is the one who runs U School, and in the past they have done recordings with Jan Arden, the Bare Naked Ladies, and I'm trying to think if there's anyone else they've done recordings with, but it's just such a wonderful, wonderful program, and Nathaniel absolutely loves it. He has joined his choir, the chamber choir at the school, and the jazz choir, and he's also doing cadet band. So right now he's across the way, across the river at cadets, and he is playing the clarinet now. He gave up on the trumpet and has moved to the clarinet. So he's playing the clarinet, the ukulele, he's singing, and very much loving music, which makes me so, so happy. Greg is very much enjoying fall. He has been busy changing all of the oil in the motorcycles and in the car. They're up there right now just changing the oil in the car. I don't know how to do that. I'm glad he does. So he's been enjoying doing that, and he always loves this cooler weather. He doesn't like that warm sunshine like I do. So he is enjoying fall very much. And Scouty here, well, she's just enjoying some pets. Now, before I leave for Bits and Bobs, I will quickly mention I'm not quite sure when we're going to have our next visit. I think it will be closer to when KnitVent starts to come out, because I need some time to do my homework, memorize monologues, memorize songs, do all the stuff for school. And I've also got to do the knitting. I'm trying to fit knitting in every day, but oftentimes it's only little tiny bits that get done. So at the end of the week, I don't really have a whole lot to show you. So I think it's going to be a little bit before we visit again, probably, like I said, closer to the first KnitVent release date. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited to share the first pattern with you when it does come out. And I will also talk about the plans I have for knitting it again, because I've got something very, very special planned for that one. Anyway, that is all I have for Bits and Bobs. Thank you so much for joining me on Knitting on the Float this week. I hope that you've had a chance to sit down, relax, work on that craft of choice, while I have chattered away about the project that came out of the back corner, my lovely, lovely Bits and Bobs blanket, knit vent, oh, love knit vent, and of course my Studiolo socks. I am wishing you the most wonderful few weeks ahead, and I look forward to sitting down with you in a little bit once I've got a bunch of my homework done and all my memorizing done, all that other stuff, and also some more knitting, because yeah, finding that knitting time is a little bit more challenging these days for me, but it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, looking forward to visiting with you either the very end of October, early November, when we will chatter more about KnitVent 2023. I don't know. Where does the time go? Have the most wonderful couple of weeks. Bye. Some people like their pumpkin spice. Me, it's just a simple Tim Horton steep tea. It is definitely not hot right now. It's not even lukewarm. It's more on the cooler side, but oh, I'll take a Tim Horton steep tea at any temperature. I absolutely love, love, love it.